Deacon Joe Pusateri from St. Walter in Roselle, and this is the first in our series of 6 sessions on Pope Francis's latest encyclical letter, Fratelli Tutti. Signed on October 3, 2020 at the tomb of St. Francis of Assisi, Fratelli Tutti is Pope Francis's third encyclical letter. This document serves as the Holy Father's commentary on human fraternity and social friendship in the present age. Its title is taken from St. Francis's Admonitions, in which the saint addressed his fellow friars in matters of spirituality and the challenges of religious life. Throughout his pontificate, Pope Francis has drawn inspiration from the life of St. Francis, especially his openness to seeing all human persons as members of the same family, regardless of cultural and religious differences. Fratelli Tutti is the embodiment of that approach. This first session covers the short introduction and Chapter 1 entitled Dark Clouds Over a Closed World. From the very first words of the introduction, Pope Francis teaches us the way of St. Francis of Assisi, who called all people his brothers and sisters, and was a saint of fraternal love, simplicity, and joy. He inspired this encyclical as he did the Pope's earlier encyclical, Laudato Si. By calling for a love that transcends the barriers of geography and distance, and by crossing crusade lines to meet with the Sultan of Egypt, St. Francis demonstrated his openness of heart and commitment to peace at a time of great power struggles and violence, not unlike today. Just as St. Francis sought to live in harmony with all, Pope Francis calls us to value fraternity and friendship across all boundaries and division, as he and the Grand Imam Ahmad al-Tayeb demonstrated when they signed the document on human fraternity for world peace and living together in Abu Dhabi in 2019. While Pope Francis started writing this encyclical before the pandemic, the urgency of this teaching on fraternity became even more clear given the inability of countries to work together to resolve yet another problem that affects us all. Anyone who thinks that the only lesson to learn from this time is to improve or reform current systems is denying reality, the Pope says. We need a rebirth of a universal aspiration to fraternity. In Chapter 1, Pope Francis gives a thorough description of the darkness he sees in the world today. First, political systems are regressing, and the profit-based economic model doesn't hesitate to exploit, discard, or even kill human beings. Second, there's a culture of indifference. By employing a strategy of ridicule, suspicion, and relentless criticism, one group can dominate and exclude another, creating a permanent state of disagreement, confrontation, and even violence. The loneliness, fear, and insecurity experienced by those who feel excluded are easy targets for mafias or gangs. Also, human rights are not universally respected, especially for women. The culture of indifference really affects the unborn, the disabled, and the elderly especially. Though connected globally, we do not see our brothers and sisters as our neighbors. This is most apparent in the absence of dignity for migrants at our borders, and for many people impacted by the pandemic. Pope Francis outlines here some trends in the world today that he finds running counter to seeing each other as brothers and sisters. The loss of historical consciousness, the throwaway culture, the stalled expansion of human rights, fear of immigrants, and the superficiality of digital connection that can lead to aggression and polarization. Now, he doesn't intend to produce an exhaustive list of the world's social ills in this encyclical, but rather highlights how these issues are all connected by an elevation of the individual over concern for the whole of humanity. And I quote, "The gap between concern for one's personal well-being and the prosperity of the larger human family seems to be stretching to the point of complete division between individuals and human community. It is one thing to feel forced to live together, but something entirely different to value the richness and beauty of those seeds of common life that need to be sought out and cultivated." End quote. It's Pope Francis' desire to strengthen the idea of social friendship and social peace in the face of an all-pervasive social violence, which he sees running through the economy, politics, and even through social media. However, he ends the chapter on a note of hope. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused many of us to sit up and take notice. Many have stepped forward, especially first responders, frontliners, and essential workers who have selflessly worked for the good of all. Hope itself helps us to look for something more, to lift our heads, and to look to the horizon, and it can open us up to grand ideals that make life more beautiful and worthwhile.